You know that person. The one who still doesn't have an Instagram. They don't post, they don't scroll, and they don't track anyone's breakfast or vacation photos. Maybe that person is you. Maybe you've been that person for years, quietly, without making a grand announcement, because announcing your exit from social media on social media always felt a bit ironic, didn't it? People have asked you, why aren't you there? Don't you want to stay connected? Don't you feel like you're missing out? You may have tried to explain, but the words never quite landed. Because the truth is, it was never really about the apps. It never was. Let's talk about who you actually are. There is a specific kind of silence in your life that most people no longer possess. The silence of a morning where no notification pulls you elsewhere before you've even decided where you want to be. The silence of eating a meal without photographing it first. The silence of having a thought and just letting it live inside you. Unshared, unliked, unseen. That thought still happened. It still mattered. You knew it, even if no algorithm validated it. You remember how it felt before all of this. That feeling of a Saturday afternoon stretching out as if it were infinite. Boredom had a texture then. It wasn't anxiety, it wasn't urgency. It was just a slow, humming openness that eventually turned into creativity, or rest, or a long walk where you solved something inside yourself you hadn't even noticed was broken. You remember that specific shade of orange the sky turned, just as the streetlights flickered on, and you were still outside, still there, because you didn't have to be anywhere else. Don't call that moment nostalgia. It's a data point. It's your nervous system telling you it already knows what it needs. Let's listen to the psychology now, and what it says isn't what most people assume. Researchers studying those who stay away from social media often frame it as an avoidant behavior, as if not participating were a symptom, social anxiety, a fear of connection, an inability to keep up with modern life. But a closer look at the studies reveals a very different picture. People who voluntarily leave or never join social media often score higher, not lower, on certain indicators of psychological well-being. They possess a more stable and internalized sense of identity, what psychologists call an autonomous self-concept. Their self-worth isn't constantly renegotiated through external feedback loops. They don't wake up and hand over the first 5 minutes of their consciousness to a platform designed by engineering teams to make leaving feel impossible. Neuroscientists talk about something called the default mode network, DMN. This is the part of the brain that activates when you aren't focused on an external task, when you're daydreaming, reflecting, using your imagination, or trying to make sense of your own experience. It's the network responsible for empathy, creativity, and the deep self-awareness required to know who you truly are. Studies show that chronic social media use, the constant checking, the infinite scroll, disrupts this network. It keeps the brain in a state of low-intensity hypervigilance, always waiting for external input, never fully diving into the inner world where your true self is constructed. You are protecting that inner world. Maybe you didn't call it that. Maybe you just felt like a constant online presence, felt like wearing a costume you didn't choose, but your instincts were pointing towards something real. There's something else. People who don't use social media often carry a finely tuned sensitivity toward authenticity. Not in an elitist way, not, I'm above this. It's more like a near physical discomfort with performative connection. A discomfort with the gap between what someone posts and what they are actually living. The way a platform designed around engagement metrics quietly trains you to optimize yourself for an audience instead of just living. Some researchers call this justice sensitivity, a heightened awareness of incongruence, of things claiming to be one thing while being another. You might have felt this as a low-level restlessness you couldn't quite name. Double-tapping a photo. wasn't the same as loving a human being. A follower count wasn't the same as being known. Presence measured in views felt like a strange, hollow substitute for the presence that is simply being there. You weren't being cynical. You were paying attention. People assume your choice brings loneliness. And let's be honest, sometimes it does. There are conversations you're left out of, plans made in group chats you aren't in, references you don't catch. There is a texture of shared experience that flows through those platforms like air. And sometimes you're standing outside, watching the rain fall on everyone else. But this is also true. There is a different kind of loneliness that lives inside social media, and it's one of the best documented findings in digital psychology. It's the loneliness of feeling further away from people than ever while surrounded by their curated versions. The loneliness of performing your life for an invisible spectator and slowly forgetting which parts are actually you. The loneliness of a comment section that technically replies to you but doesn't actually see you. You chose a different kind of loneliness, one that at least leaves room for the truth to find you. In this specific cultural moment, there is something quietly radical about your existence. We live in an era where visibility is equated with value, where sharing is synonymous with caring, where an undocumented life is met with a vague, unspoken suspicion, as if not broadcasting yourself means you have something to hide, or worse, nothing to show. You are living proof that neither is true. Magic lives in the mundane. In that conversation last Tuesday evening that no one else will ever know about, but that changed something inside you. In the book you finished on a rainy afternoon, with no cover photo, no caption, and no one to tell. In the grief you move through at your own pace, in your own private interior, without the strange pressure to maintain a coherent narrative of healing. In the joy you felt, really felt, in your whole body for the entire time it was there, because you didn't reach for your phone to capture it. Those moments happened. They were real. They were yours. You aren't behind. You aren't broken. You aren't missing out on the core human experience by refusing to fit it into a format designed for maximum engagement and minimum depth. You are someone who managed to hold on to something most people silently crave but rarely admit to themselves. The experience of being a full, complex, unedited human being whose value was never dependent on how many people clicked a tiny heart under your face. The world changed slowly, then all at once, and it introduced its new self as connection. You never quite believed it, and you were right not to.